This episode is brought to you by Love Hurts. Kiwi Kwan has had quite a career, from childhood roles in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies to a recent Academy Award win for Everything Everywhere All at Once. But now Key finally stars as a leading man in the film Love Hurts. Love Hurts is the perfect date night movie with its mix of over-the-top action, comedy, and a ton of heart. Love Hurts. Only at theaters February 7th.
This episode is brought to you by Allstate. Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the date of the big game first before you accidentally buy tickets on your 20th wedding anniversary and have to spend the next 20 years of your marriage making up for it. Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate. Savings vary. Terms apply. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Your neighborhood just got cooler with Kroger Delivery's refrigerated trucks. Simply order groceries at the same great prices online as in-store, and we'll bring them to you fresh every time. And if that wasn't cool enough, you can now earn 4 times the fuel points after 4 with your digital coupon. Choose a next-day Kroger Delivery time slot for 4 p.m. or later on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Must deliver by February 4th. Restrictions apply. See Kroger.com for details.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Jacob Minter. Good job with the shot, and the Slough Jets have taken the lead on the power play. With the shot cross goal. No need for the save from Lorde, and Campbell finds himself in, and it's 3-1 to the Chelsea Chieftains.
Hello and welcome to Zero Pucks Given, the UK Ice Hockey Podcast. We're in partnership with the Hockey Art Co, hockey clothing for hockey people, worn by the best and hated by the rest. Listeners to the Zero Pucks Given can get a 10% discount off of everything site-wide at hockeyartclothing.co.uk. Just use the code ZP10. We're also in partnership with Manscaped, the globally recognised male grooming brand with top-of-the-range products such as the Lawnmower, the Weed Whacker, the Beard Hugger and the Dome Shaver Pro. You can use these in the shower because they're fully waterproof. There's ceramic blades, so no nicks and no cuts. Plus extra fast charging and a super long run time makes these the best wireless shavers on the market. You can get 20% off from everything at manscaped.com when you use the code ZeroPucks20. And we are also on the Sports Social Podcast Network, the largest sport podcast network in Europe, boasting over 500 podcasts from more than 20 different sports. And we're delighted that the ZPG network of Zero Pucks Given and ZPG Ice Maidens is a part of it. Well, hello and welcome along to episode 145. This is going to be our interview episode. The first one we've done this year was with Solent Devils captain Callum Barella-Fox. We are now moving on to our once a month putting a focus on the women's game. Of course, at the end of last year, after the Olympic qualifiers, we were joined very briefly by GB captain Jodie Alderson-Smith just to let us know how the weekend gone. And after that, I put a little call out on Instagram. Who do you want to see on the podcast? This player was one of the first people that got mentioned. 2 or 3 people actually mentioned her. So I shot her a message, and then I caught up with GB goalie Ella Howard. How are you doing this evening?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm saying this evening because it's this evening for me, but for you it's still the morning because you're over in Edmonton, aren't you, in Canada?
Yeah, 7 hours behind, so it's only about 10:40 a.m. for me.
Wow. And I suppose obviously we had the GB Olympics qualifiers. We'll get onto those. Then you had a sort of a trip around Europe with some teammates. We'll also get into that. But now you're back at college.
Yeah, so school actually started again last week, so it's back to the study grind now, unfortunately.
And what is it you're studying over there?
I'm taking business right now.
Okay, what's the long term out of that then? Because obviously hockey-wise we'll get into it. You've got the PWHL now in America. You played in Finland before as well. What's the long term aim out of college?
Actually, not 100% sure. I think career-wise, I'm kind of torn between business and psychology because I've studied both. So it's nice to have a taste of both so I can figure out which one I want to go into.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suppose nice to keep your options open as well, that you can maybe even flick between one or the other as you come out.
Yeah, I think like especially nowadays it's so easy to switch between careers, and a lot of people don't settle into a career for a long time, so it's good to, to have the different avenues.
And as we're proving here, there's most things you can do from anywhere. I'm in the Canary Islands, you're in Western Canada. It's we could do pretty much anything from anywhere.
Yeah, no limits.
No limits at all. So we'll get to the Olympic qualifiers then to start with. Obviously, I spoke to Jodie just after the qualifiers came to an end. Just your feelings on it, how it all went, because obviously the pre-tournament games started incredibly, 2 really, really good wins. And then it all came down to that final game in an overtime defeat, which is just heartbreaking as a GB sort of fan. How was it for you guys inside the camp?
Yeah, I think definitely at the time it was devastating. We took that hard. But I think when you reflect on it, a few days later, and you realize, actually we won 4 out of 5 games. We came that close with a team who are above us in the rankings. There's not a lot to be disappointed about. Obviously, missing out on Japan is heartbreaking, but I think we really stepped up and we showed, this is the level we can be at in the future.
Yeah, and as I said to Jodie, the good thing with hockey in general is that this doesn't mean that that's it for Team GB. There's different championships where you guys can medal and keep yourselves up at the level you're going at, and then take your chances at playing the bigger and better nations as well.
Yeah, for sure. I think now obviously Olympic qualifiers is out of the way. The next goal is we want a gold medal. We want to be promoted into that 1A division. So we're playing teams like Netherlands consistently because we feel that's where we belong.
Yeah. And I think the next time that GB play, it's going to be in Britain as well, I believe, isn't it? Is it Dumfries?
Yeah, it's in Dumfries, Scotland this year. Yeah, that'll be nice to be the home team again.
Yeah. And I know the crowd in Scotland as well. I know they get behind the girls really well. And people do really travel as well to support the team. It's good to see the numbers coming in to support the women's game.
Yeah, I think it's a good rink too, because it kind of echoes. So when people bring the drums and they shout, it really gets around the building and brings the energy for us, which is awesome. Yeah,
the Shark Tank is already a legendary venue within the National Ice Hockey League now. In their first season, Solway Sharks in the National League. So how would you say? I mean, every time I speak to one of the Team GB ladies, they always say about the connection in the group. When I spoke to Rachel and Jodie and Ellie and even Shan, because obviously Shan, similar to you, goes to school in the States and then, or Northern America rather, and then comes over. Is there I'm not going to say clique because I very much doubt there is any cliques going on in that squad, but do you girls at sort of school in America kind of stick together and then the girls that play here stick together, or is everyone just melting pot?
I say this all the time, that it's more of a sisterhood than a team. It's one big family. Everyone kind of floats between each other. I don't come from Canada and feel I'm an outsider. I just gel right in there. Everyone's so welcoming. We all get on so well. And I think at the end of the day, we all have the common shared goal, and that really drives us together come tournament time. Yeah,
I mean, obviously Olympic-wise, we said that's just sort of finishing now. So we're now looking at 5 years until the next one comes around. Qualifying will sort of start in a couple of years for that. Do you think a lot of this current squad will still be there, or is there the younger players coming in to help the squad refresh?
I think it's honestly hard to say right now, but obviously the depth of the squad has grown huge over the past couple of seasons. There's no guarantee that anyone's going to be on the team come the next season anymore. And I think that's good. I think it really drives us to, keep pushing through those small habits in season, put ourselves in the best spot to be selected again. But yeah, I think as a country, it's really promising to see that there is such a big depth nowadays.
Yeah, in this roster alone, it was Ellie Wallace, Maddie Wright were up in there that hadn't really made a great deal of senior appearances before, and they kind of came into the roster. Maddie's also playing men's league in Britain as well at MK Thunder. So over there in Edmonton, are you playing all women or do you guys mix up as well?
It's a women's league, like a varsity league, so it's all kind of under 25 women.
Right, love it. And what sort of college level is that you're playing? Or is it outside of college?
It's ACAC, so we're not a university, we're a polytechnic, so we're in like the league for polytechnics. I'd say it's really comparable to U-Sport. We play U-Sport teams, and there's never really a huge mismatch there. So it's a good level to play at.
Yeah, is the acronym pronounced NAIT? Is it?
Yeah. Northern Alberta Institute of Technology.
Awesome. And what is an ook?
An ook. So this is like a indigenous American. It's a word for like a snowy owl, I think.
Oh, right. Okay. I mean, looking at the logo,
like a hedwig.
Yeah, a hedwig. Yeah, I was looking at the logo. It's definitely a bird of some sort. But yeah, an ook was something I'd never come across.
Yeah, I think the actual term is like ook pick. But yeah, we shorten it to the ooks.
Awesome. I'm hoping to get to Western Canada at some point. It's on my list. Unfortunately, my wife can't deal with too much cold because of a condition of her hands. But and I've always said I can't go in the summer because then there's no hockey. I don't want to go to Canada when there's no hockey. That sort of thing. But yeah, it's such a beautiful part of the world over there. And I mean, do you think that you'll even bother going anywhere else? Canada's a lovely big country. There's plenty of places to live and work over there. Do you think you're stuck there now?
It's hard to say, again, like at this point in my life. I do very much enjoy like the way of life here, like the outdoors, go active side. But yeah, it depends on, if hockey takes me anywhere and like Sweden, somewhere like that. It's hard to say right now.
Yeah, of course. But after the qualifiers, you kind of did a bit of a European tour. Was that with the GB girls or was that with a college group?
Yeah, the European trip was with NAIT. We went around kind of Central Europe, so we started in Munich, Germany, and then we drove up to, I think, Bratislava, Slovakia, then Austria and Vienna, and then we finished like 3 or 4 days in Prague. So it was really good. We got to obviously do a lot of sightseeing.
Any other stuff going on? Anything you could broadcast, obviously?
Sorry?
Anything else going on that trip, broadcastable?
I think like the hockey, we had 4 games scheduled. They were pretty good games. It was honestly different to most hockey trips I've done because most hockey trips it's like practice game. We had a lot of free time to go and sightsee, which was really nice. You don't typically get that on a hockey trip. So yeah, we got to do a lot of like team activities away from the rink as well, which was nice.
Did you get to watch any other hockey out there as well?
Yeah, we went to watch the Red Bull game in Munich. That was absolutely crazy, like the lighting effects, the noise. It was an unreal experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So, back talking about perhaps playing in the future alongside your career, the PWHL over at your level with women in North America as a continent. Yeah. How are they viewing the PWHL? Is it making great strides? Is it kind of lighting that fire in some of you?
I think so, yeah. I think especially like for, maybe younger players who are just starting now, there really is like a long-term viable goal of playing professionally. As you know, like most boys, they can dream of the NHL. Like most young girls now, they can dream of being in that professional league. And I think that's such an amazing thing. It's taken a long time to get here. And I think for like people like myself, like the opportunity is not gone. So obviously it is a great opportunity for me to also strive towards, whether it takes me there or whether it just helps me to better my game in general. But I think it's a very, very important thing for the women's game.
Yeah, just before the season started, actually, we had Emma Molte from the Toronto Scepters on the podcast.
Yeah.
And she said they are kind of doing that draft system and they're looking in the colleges and that's how they want to start bringing the young players through and into the professional game. I think we're probably looking at a year or two before we see some more teams. They're in with their original 6 at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very much centralized in the East right now. Actually, in the past, I was lucky enough to be shortlisted with the Calgary, the PWHPA squad. So I got to go out and practice with them a couple times a week when I was at UFC, and that was just unbelievable to like be on the ice with like Blair Turnbull, Emily Clark, facing shots like that. It was really fun.
Yeah.
And it kind of gave me a taste of what that league might be like, what I could strive towards.
I mean, level-wise, as you say, you go from playing any level around any sort of collegiate sort of event is always a good level. But then, as you say, when you're on the ice with the likes of Blair Turnbull and Amelia like that just all shows the difference. But go back to you as a young girl getting into hockey. Why on earth have you gone in the pipes in front of 100-mile-an-hour vulcanised rubber coming at you?
It's actually kind of a funny story. I started off in defense. I think I played defense for about 4 years. I just honestly, I always was drawn towards the net. I would go and stand in front of the goalie in my player pads and try and like catch the pucks for them. The goalies probably hated me for it because they couldn't see anything. But I guess at some point they realized it's safer to have me in goalie equipment than doing it in defender gear.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, if you're going to defend in front of there, you've got to be the one getting in the way of the forward that's trying to get in the paint.
Yeah, for sure.
So where was that? Where was your introduction to hockey, and then where did you play your youth hockey?
So I grew up in Milton Keynes. I started in like the MK Storm development system, and then when the rink was closed down and there was kind of that uncertainty about whether we'd have one or not, I went to Oxford, and then from Oxford I kind of bounced around. I think from Oxford to Bracknell, and then Bracknell to Slough. So it's really good. I've been in a lot of different systems. It's really good to have different perspectives in your development as a young athlete. Yeah,
I mean, and that's certainly some teams now at this level that they're seeing real fruit coming through their youth setup, particularly at MK with the Storm into the Thunder and then up into the Lightning, and then the Falcons are doing fantastic things as well in the Women's League.
Yeah, for sure. And it's always nice because when I'm back in MK, I get to hop on with a few of their skates and stuff, and it's really nice to obviously be on the ice with people I haven't practiced with since I was like under 10s.
Yeah.
It's really nice to see them again.
So then how did it come about then you ended up in Edmonton?
So when I was, I think, 15, my 15-year-old year at Worlds, had a pretty good tournament. Started having interest from like different prep schools. I actually ended up signing in like the old PWHL. I think it's now like the OWHL Elite League. That's like probably the best junior hockey league in North America. It's where like Canada and USA do a lot of the recruiting from. So for me, it was just like a fantastic opportunity to play against those like higher caliber teams and higher caliber players. And then unfortunately the second year there, it got shut down due to COVID. But I go to a goalie school in Calgary, Top Prospects Goaltending, with Brad Kirkwood. And kind of just a stroke of luck, they had coaches watching that day. And then I went to speak to like the University of Calgary coaches in the parking lot. And then from there, it was like obviously the Zoom calls, the different exchanges. And then I think I signed my letter of intent in November. And then I did 3 seasons at UFC. And then this spring, I transferred over to NAIT. And yeah, NAIT's been really awesome. It's a great group, great coaches. It's like nice to be in like a smaller school. I think it's a lot more connected. You get to speak to a lot more athletes. You get to know like your professors better. It's a really good fit for me.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something I've noticed with a lot of the schools over in North America is they'll kind of take on this persona of, as you say, athletes. It's not this is the hockey team, this is the basketball team, this is the football team. You're all kind of like one squad, aren't you? And then you just go and play different sports. I
don't think it was like that at University of Calgary. I I think because U of C is obviously such a big school, there really was kind of the division between the different teams.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but in NAIT it's completely different. Like we have like OOKs supporting OOKs. Like all the teams are encouraged to go watch. We get like free merch. We have like mingling events. And I think it's just genuinely a closer, tighter knit environment than it was at U of C.
Yeah, as I noticed similar with Sham Jackson at Sunderland out in New York, that they,
Yeah.
I think she plays football as well for the Roos, the team there, as well as playing hockey. So they're kind of encouraged to be multi-sport athletes. Is that the same at NAIT?
I think the only double sport athletes I know of are like golf and hockey. I think for the most part we tend to focus on our own sport. And
nothing that can get you injured.
Yeah, definitely.
Have you ever played any other sports?
I grew up doing kickboxing, and I also played field hockey at my school. And then I did dabble a bit in inline hockey. I just always preferred to be on the ice.
Yeah. I mean, the differences between inline and ice are kind of smaller than they are between field and ice. Were you a goalie in field as well?
I played a couple of times in goal, but mostly I like to be up there running around, trying to score a few goals.
Goal too big.
Yeah, I think it's just a very, very different sport in terms of goaltending. Like you run and you kick the ball. You don't like cover it. You don't catch it. I think being an ice hockey goalie is a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Not to diss field hockey goalies or anything. I think they do a wonderful job. It's just not for me.
No, well, they have. I mean, recently actually, I think it was just in the summer, they announced that like England field hockey, their international stuff, is going to be shown on Channel 4. It's got itself like a mainstream media TV deal, which I think is great for field hockey, and I am a big fan. I played a little bit when I was younger as well. But it amazes me that ice hockey can't get the same thing in this country when it's so much more exciting to watch.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to obviously like popularity and maybe an accessibility thing. I think field hockey is something that's offered through most schools, so a lot of children have exposure to it. But I've been to do different like talks around schools in the UK, and obviously the schools of like big cities have like big teams like Milton Keynes. We have the Lightning, so a lot of the children knew about ice hockey and they've been to see it. But I've been to some schools where they've never had any kind of interaction with hockey. They don't really know any of the teams. So yeah, I definitely think it's an accessibility, like a knowledge thing too.
Yeah, of course, accessibility down to facilities. I think the amount of facilities in the UK, you've probably got the same amount where you are within like a 10 square mile radius, really.
Yeah, in Canada, you have a rink in every neighbourhood. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah. So being out in Edmonton, then, are you an Oilers fan now?
I am controversially. I am a Flames fan through and through. Not the most popular opinion on my team, but obviously from a goaltending side, Dustin Wolf is mega. I could watch Dustin Wolf every single day and never get bored. And then as a kid, it was always Kiprusoff. So yeah, it's definitely the goaltending that draws me into Calgary.
Do you get to catch up on any NHL out there, either in person or on telly?
Yeah, we actually live a block away from Rogers Place, so every single time we play, all the fans are walking past our apartment block, and it's obviously a lot easier to watch over here. There's not that huge time difference. You can watch any of the conferences play, and I don't have to be awake at 3 a.m. in the morning as I would in the UK.
I'm toying with it today because I'm flying home tomorrow night. I'm like, do I stay up and watch Leafs against Devils tonight? I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. Is that your team?
Unfortunately, yeah. It's I don't really follow football in the UK anymore. But if anyone in the UK that likes football says to me, what is it, the Leafs? What's with them? And I'll say, well, basically the Leafs are Tottenham. They haven't won in years. They always make you think they're going to win, and then they don't win, and it's just depressing.
Oh yeah, my family are Spurs fans through and through.
They'll understand, and they will understand. Yeah, no, I went to. It could kind of be because I always say there's like a like categories of how you pick your NHL team, and it would kind of fall on whether you've been to that place or maybe the colour of the jersey or just one player in particular that you like.
Yeah.
And I did go to Anaheim, but it was in the summer before the Ducks became a franchise.
Yeah.
So I can't really. They're my second team because I never saw them play. They hadn't really started when I was there. But I was in Toronto in 2002 and I went to see them, and that was. They did win the night I was there, which is nice. But so I've been stuck with it since then, really.
Yeah, I'm definitely someone who latches onto a player, a goalie.
Yeah, and you're stuck.
That's how I choose. Yeah.
One of the best ones I had was I had Stanislav Laschek, who played in the UK for years. He did play at Milton Keynes for quite a while, actually.
Yeah.
I think it was in the EPIHL for Milton Keynes. He was drafted, I think it was 5th round for Tampa Bay back in 2003.
Yeah.
When he started playing over there, when I spoke to him, he was talking about the World Junior Championships where he plays for Slovak, and he burned like, Sidney Crosby and all that. He burned all their numbers up. He was so much better. But he's a San Jose fan just because of that jade green colour.
Yeah.
And
that's
stuck with it.
Pretty funny.
I think that's a colour that's come in. I think is it the Sirens, New York Sirens have got that sort of colour in the PWHL.
Yeah, like the teal and the orange.
Yeah, the teal. That's it, not JJ. The teal. It was like the colour of the 90s. That was.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably won't remember the 90s, but it was the colour. So the New York Rangers actually another one I keep out for. I went to New York in 2017. I didn't actually see any hockey, but I went past Madison Square Garden, so I do keep an eye out for the Rangers. And I know it's always quite feisty when the Rangers and the Leafs play.
Yeah.
But no, so you must play in some pretty amazing places over there as well. Have you got a favourite rink that you've played in over there?
This actually was with like GB University team. But I think like a really fun place to play was obviously near Lake Placid in New York.
Yes, that was a couple of years ago, wasn't it? Yeah,
that was a pretty cool place to play. But yeah, there are some really cool collegiate rinks too. And with Dinos, like every year they did a game like in the Dome in Calgary, which is pretty cool.
Oh wow. That university team, just for people that aren't aware, I'm not 100% sure. To be selected for that, you just have to be going to university in that country. Is that correct?
For FISU games?
Yeah.
So I actually was going to university in Calgary at the time, so I'm pretty sure it's based on, passport eligibility over specifically where you study. Different federations will pick differently, but I'm pretty sure for the UK it's, British passport nationality and then being enrolled in a university program.
Right, so I could think, because it's on at the moment, isn't it, the university games?
Yeah.
And GB are not really having the best time of it. I think they've lost 46-0 over aggregate 3 games. But I think they've got Jess Malloy playing in there, who's a Caledonian Steel Queen player. But I think she's
she was on there when I played 2 years ago. She was there with me too. Yeah,
and she's Canadian, isn't she?
Yeah,
She's dual national.
Yeah, she's dual national.
Oh, right. So that's how that one kind of works for her. Yeah, I think GB take good advantage of that. To be perfectly honest, when they're picking any of their national sides, the dual national thing is very well taken advantage of. I mean, would you? Obviously, it's difficult with hockey because of, as we've said, it's not got really the exposure because of the lack of facilities in this country. To get the younger people in Britain better at hockey and push on our national sides, would you like to see academies of sort in this country doing similar to what you're doing over there, or should our young players just be taking advantage of how it works everywhere else in the world, go and get that worldly experience, and then come back?
It's honestly hard to say, because I think the big advantage of being in an academy is, being on the ice every day, versus in the UK when you maybe get, your 1 or 2 practices a week.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah. at the inopportune times of the day. But actually, when I played in the OWHL league, we only practiced, twice a week. So I think it's more of a quality thing over a quantity thing sometimes too. And at the end of the day, it's just, making that decision based on what you feel is the right move for you. So it's hard to say, like, objectively, everyone should do this, everyone needs to do this. It's very much down to what you feel you need as an individual athlete.
Yeah, I think we've got a couple of things like that in the UK now. I know the Cardiff Canucks under Trevor Hendricks, they've got like a program where the guys are all going to the same school and they're coming to the rink every morning and having like a morning skate and whatnot. And then we have it's becoming legendary training facility in Bracknell, the Ozone. Have you had any training sessions at the Ozone?
I've never been to the Ozone actually, but it does look like a pretty cool place to train. So maybe one day I'll get on there. Yeah,
I think next time you're back in the UK, I think absolutely. I would imagine that Danny would be absolutely thrilled to see a GB national down there.
Yeah.
It's something we said when Danny was on here. Actually, it was like, you've done so well at this, you could easily franchise this and open these all over the UK as training rinks. And as you were saying there about it being quality over quantity, Danny's sort of ethos was, I could open 10, but if they don't run as well as this one, it would ruin the reputation and the identity of it. So I think it's actually what people are beginning to understand, just through in the general way it works and through what we've just said there. Quality over quantity is going to be a massive thing in this sport moving forward, isn't it?
I think so too, especially, me being a goalie. I could be on ice every single day making all the saves wrong. I could be on ice twice a week and one time as a goalie coach, and it can make, all the world of difference in long-term development.
Yeah. Have you done any work with Colin Booth at the MG1 Brain Academy?
No, I haven't been there yet either.
I haven't. Yeah,
typically,
I think he's Nottingham way, isn't he? But I think he's actually got one over in the States now. Have you seen any of the stuff online? Have you got your own opinion on perhaps using technology to improve goalkeeper training? Yeah,
I have seen a lot of his drills, and they do look really good, really beneficial. I think for me personally, I think to do anything like that over here in Canada is quite expensive. It's it's a business for them as much as it's an opportunity for me. So for me, it's obviously easier to get on the ice and stop pucks than
is there any other better training than facing pucks?
Yeah, to pay hundreds to go and use the technology. But I think it looks as though it is pretty accessible through MG1 Elite, which I think is really good for the game. Giving everyone opportunity to go use the technology.
Lovely. Have you had your most memorable moment of playing with Team GB?
I'd say the win against Spain. That was a pretty big one for me because my youngest sister, she's like 9 years old, came out to watch and she was just absolutely starstruck, bawling her eyes out, and that was really special. And then I think the other one would be in U18s against Norway. When we took them to overtime and shootout and we beat them, that was a pretty incredible experience. A really good feeling to beat a team like Norway.
Yeah. Did you save some penalty shots as well?
Yeah, so I think I had around 50 shots in the game, and then it went to overtime, and then penalties, it went all the way through sudden death. And yeah, we won in penalties, I think like maybe third round into sudden death. It was an absolutely crazy game, and probably my favorite moment for that reason.
Awesome. Now, am I correct in thinking that you're a number 45 as a goalie?
I am 25.
Oh, you're 25?
Yeah.
I'll say 45 seems a little high for a goalie. They're normally a little bit lower than that. So what's behind your number? Was it given to you or did you pick it?
So I actually was supposed to be number 20 with GB in U18s, but the jersey didn't fit me.
Oh, no.
So they had a larger 25 jersey, and then once you have your GB jersey, you tend to stick with that number.
Yeah.
So yeah, 25 it is.
Stuck with for life. Have you got any kind of maybe a top 3 of things that you would tell to a young aspiring male or female goalkeeper that wants to get as far as they can in hockey? Have you got a top 3 bits of advice that you would give to them?
Well, it's a tough question. I think I can just go off of based how I play. I think my number 1 rule is always, enjoy it. You don't want to be pursuing something you're not enjoying because you're probably not going to get the results you want. So just try and remember that, it's a game. At the end of the day, it's a game. And always remember the reason you started hockey. It's great to win. It's great to get a championship. But if your number 1 reason for playing isn't that you just love to be on ice, then it probably isn't the place for you. And then it's so hard.
I'll put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah. I think second, make your teammates your best friends. I think if you're tight-knit with your teammates, then they're going to go to great lengths to help you, when you need help on the ice. So if there's any opportunities to go do things with your team, make the most of them, compliment them, boost them. You don't want to come in after a tough period and start, tearing your teammates apart. You want them to feel, empowered. You want to always be in it together. You don't want to point fingers. You want them to feel like they want to help you. And then third,
I keep just moving so you don't think I've frozen at any point because of the.
Yeah, my brain's frozen. I think third, just make the most of the resources available to you. If you can get multiple perspectives as opposed to, the one perspective, that's always beneficial. It's better to, load your toolkit with lots of different things and figure out what works best for you than to, work with someone who's very my way or the highway, because it might not work for you. And then on that note, I know a lot of young goalies want to, copy a Vasilevsky or another NHL goalie, but I think, to be a Vasilevsky is very exceptional. I think it's better to, take specifics from their game that you like and that you can apply, as opposed to trying to mirror any one goalie. And then, the more adaptable you are, the more skills you have, probably the better results you're going to have in the long term.
That sounds like the best advice that you could give anyone in any walk of life. Fill your toolkit and find out what one you use best. I think that's fantastic advice. Yeah. Ella, thank you so much for giving me your time and coming on Zero Pucks Given. We've got quite a long list now of GB national ladies that have been on the podcast and created a little ZPG alumni. And it's fabulous from my point of view that we can get you guys on. And we've had you guys on from all over the world as well, which is amazing.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Obviously, I'm always going to want to talk about hockey. That's
pretty much all we do here. That's pretty much all we do. So once again, thank you so much. Good luck for the rest of the year and have a good class today. Make sure you sign in on time.
Thank you. Have a good one.
A massive thank you to Ella for joining me. As you may see on YouTube, I'm actually in the UK at the moment. The time I recorded it, I was actually in the Canary Islands, and Ella was at college in Edmonton. So amazing technology stuff. But yeah, massive thank you to her for giving me some of her time. I think that was a really great interview. I think she's going to get quite good at that, actually, as she goes through her career. And little thing of me says we might see her in the PWHL someday, which will be absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for catching up on all the episodes that have come out so far this year. Of course, the Callum Perella-Fox episode is there to listen and there to watch, as is this one now. Thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.
podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.